What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and everybody's predictions have come true. Just like with The Little Mermaid and our predictions around that remake, the Indiana Jones remake, we knew was going to be a humiliating affair for many people's favorite all-time star. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is an embarrassment for everyone involved. Kathleen Kennedy, Harrison Ford, Phoebe Waller, who cares, whatever her name is, and really fandoms in general. It is peak capitalism. It's peak. Disney has no new ideas. I said it before. I had no interest in seeing a 100-year-old Harrison Ford try to be an action star. And I also will say we all knew that, of course, he would be the outdated, backwards guy that was constantly getting upended by the new, smarter, better in every way female character. And while people said, well, that's not going to be what the case is. Well, the fact of the matter is that is the case. The movie is very poorly reviewed, and the box office numbers are just in, and they are brutal. We're going to get into all that after a super quick word from this video sponsor. Huge shout out to this video sponsor, Policy Genius. Now, I know the idea of picking up life insurance might not be going across your mind, but I recently turned 40 and it's something that's definitely on my mind. I didn't want to leave behind all sorts of debt and burden my family with these type of things. And so I started to look and get life insurance. And I've got to admit, now that I have it, I feel a ton better. It was a lot cheaper than I expected too. Policy Genius was built to modernize the life insurance industry. Their technology makes it easy to compare life insurance quotes from America's top insurers in just a few clicks to find your lowest price. With Policy Genius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $25 a month for $1 million in coverage. Some options offer coverage in as little as a week and avoid unnecessary medical exams. Their licensed agents work for you, not the insurance companies. That means they don't have an incentive to recommend one insurer over another, so you can trust their guidance. Policy Genius is for parents, caregivers, and anyone else who has people who depend on them. They simplify the process of getting life insurance so you can protect the people you love. There's no added fees, and your personal details are private. No wonder they have thousands of 5-star reviews on Google and Trustpilot. Your loved ones deserve a financial safety net. You deserve a smarter way to find it and buy it. Head on over to policygenius.com/thequartering or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see just how much you can save. Now let's start with the reviews. A 54%. Now, Disney was so overly confident that they released this film to early reviews at a film festival because they thought, wow, everyone's just going to say how amazing it is because it's stunning and brave, because we get to get rid of this toxic man. We get to make him leave his wife. We get to destroy his family. This is what Disney does to male characters. They are all terrible. Abandoning. I mean, look what they did to Luke Skywalker, for crying out loud. Luke Skywalker, they're doing the exact same thing to Harrison Ford's Indiana Jones. Men are allowed to be in these films, but they have to be terrible. And we all know that the Phoebe character, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, is set to take over as Indiana Jones. It will fail miserably, and I predict that film will never come to fruition. This will be the last Indiana Jones film probably ever. They may try to trot out some sort of prequel, something like that, but this movie will spectacularly flop in the theater. First of all, classic modern day movie format. It's 2.5 hours long. That's too long. All right. You get to be 3 hours long if you're Casino. You get to be 3 hours long if you're The Godfather. You don't get to be 2.5 hours long if you're an action movie, an Indiana Jones film that should be a tight 90 minutes. 90 minutes to 2 hours. The reason you end up with all these ridiculously long movies, okay, you get to be 3 hours long if you're Lord of the Rings, okay? They don't know what the heck they're planning on doing or what they're doing, so they just leave everything in the movie. Every stupid joke, every weird set, every little thing gets left in the movie because they know it sucks. So they're like, well, let's just make it longer. All right, so the reviews, even critics, not good. And I suspect this will go down once more people actually look at the reviews. Overlong, no thrills, no fun. Why are you chasing that thing that drove your father crazy? Exactly our question. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is a wild goose chase that goes nowhere. Basically, Dial of Destiny is just a compendium of old bits from earlier films. And then it ends and it's all a blessing. This isn't the final goodbye, Harrison Ford. They don't know what to do with strong male characters anymore in modern cinema. They just don't. And if they do, then it's to make them terrible. Indiana Jones 5 early tracking predicts 60 million box office, well below Crystal Skull. And if you think about, Crystal Skull was 15 years ago. With inflation, this is an even bigger, if it did even the same as Crystal Skull, that would have been an embarrassment. But the fact that it's 15 years later and it costs $7 more per head to get into the movie theater, I mean, I don't know if that's the real number, but 15 years ago, it was $10 to go to the movies. Now it's like 15 where I live. That's a huge embarrassment. The first round of projections for Disney, Lucasfilm's Indiana Jones: The Dial of Destiny have arrived, and they are predicting a significant drop from the film's 2008 predecessor, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, with an opening weekend around 60 million. By comparison, Crystal Skull, which opened on a Thursday before Memorial Day 15 years ago, earned 100 million, going on to gross 317 million domestic and 790 million worldwide. And that movie stunk. Box office analysts who spoke to the Wrap say the film's early tracking in the U.S. is more reminiscent of the James Bond film No Time to Die, which opened to 55 million in October 2021 and finished with 160 million domestic and 774 million globally. Another comp being used is Mission Impossible Fallout. Also, like those two films, sources say Dial of Destiny is tracking well among older audiences who grew up seeing Harrison Ford as Indy, but not so much among young audiences, 35. Well, that's why they're bringing in Phoebe Waller-Bridge, right? Like, that's why, that's for the young Zoomers. You know how many cringe Zoomer jokes are going to be in this movie? I wonder if they say things like no cap in this movie, or how many references to TikTok there will be. Now, it's possible that later reviews may be more favorable to Indy, and Crystal Skull was able to ride good but not great critical and audience reception of 77, but with a reported $295 million production budget, making before marketing, Dial of Destiny has to gain traction across the. This movie is going to lose not just millions, not tens of millions. I predict this movie will lose more than $100 million. If you have a production budget of $300 million, the rule of thumb in the industry is to then double that for marketing. $600 million is what their nut is on this movie, which means you have to make $1.2 billion to break even. Because remember, when you hear $100 million at the box office, the movie house only keeps half of that. So it needs to make over $1 billion just to break even. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny opening weekend box office predictions plummet over 25%. At the beginning of this month, box office tracking website Box Office Pro predicted the film would have an opening domestic gross between 81 and 111 million. The outlet explained that they believe the film was getting positive social media chatter. It wasn't. Nostalgia would drive moviegoers to the film, families would turn out for it, and early pre-sales are respectable. However, they did note that the film received poor critic reviews. The franchise already has a monkey on its back with the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull dividing audiences, and a ton of competition, including Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning and Part 1 and Oppenheimer, both films I want to see. Well, Oppenheimer, really. I'm not really a Mission Impossible guy. Newly released tracking numbers from Hollywood Reporter predict the film will only have a domestic opening between 60 and 70 million. This means the film's original predicted box office grosses from Box Office Pro have declined 25% and nearly 40% on the high end. To put this in perspective, the film is tracking worse than the Crystal Skull even without factoring in inflation. It's also pacing below The Last Crusade and Temple of Doom when you factor in inflation. The Last Crusade had an opening of 37 million without inflation. However, factoring in inflation, that comes to $90.5 million. It's no surprise that the box office predictions for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny have significantly declined. Despite Box Office Pro's assessment that social media chatter is good, the film is trending far below what it looks like to be a massive flop for the Walt Disney Company in The Little Mermaid. On the top On top of that, the fact is trending far below The Little Mermaid. The film is being promoted by Lucasfilm to depict Indiana Jones' character an audience will recognize. In fact, the film's director, James Mangold, detailed audiences need to, quote, readjust and retool their brains. Yeah, get it reimagined. While discussing the de-aging technology used on Harrison Ford, Mangold said it reminds the audience of the contrast between the hero in his physical prime and a hero at 70. We're not relying solely on the audience's memory of the previous films. It reminds everyone what he's done, what he's survived, and what he's accomplished. You know he's going to be a bumbling fool. He's going to get humiliated at every possible scenario. He'll be the old fool, and this young, cool, hip team. You see this comment. They're basically asking you to go pay to watch an extremely degrading memorial film at the funeral of Indiana Jones. And part of you wants to be there out of respect for the character, what they once were. But then you realize you're better off mourning him and recalling how magnificent he once was. That's a great comment by Aaron Bell, and exactly how I feel about Indiana Jones. I haven't cared about the last two movies, and this one is a final embarrassment for Kathleen Kennedy and the Indiana Jones franchise. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you leave a like on it, and we'll talk to you again real soon.